You ready for some more Paul Newman and Robert Redford? Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back, and today I will be checking Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid off the 1001 Movie Checklist. If you do not know what the 1001 Movie Checklist or 1001 Movie Challenge is, it is basically a challenge I've given myself to check every single movie off the 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die book. So far, I have checked 168 films off the list. If you want to know more, you can check out a playlist linked up there with every single film I have checked off the list so far. As always, let's get started with a short summary. After a train robbery goes wrong, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, leaders of the Hole-in-the-Wall gang, find themselves on the run. They soon find that their only way to escape is to Bolivia. So my quick hot take thoughts on this: I am not a huge fan of Westerns, even though I did have a dad growing up who loved Westerns. I just never could get into them. So I was a little wary going into this, but I did know that I loved the follow-up, I say follow-up in loose quotes, film to this, The Sting, from the same director, George Roy Hill, starring Paul Newman and Robert Redford, which I covered last week or 2 weeks ago. It's the last film I covered on the 1001 Challenge. I absolutely love that, and I had a lot of fun watching it. So I thought, I feel like I would really enjoy this, but it's a Western film and it just did not engage me as much as I had hoped. But I do see a lot of where it gets all of its critical acclaim. The general storytelling of it and the story is really great, and I think if some of the scenes hadn't felt like, to me personally, that they dragged on for a little bit, I really would have enjoyed it. I did, though, really enjoy the chemistry between Redford and Newman. Their chemistry in The Sting was really great, and I really loved the way they worked together in this one, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. The thing that really did pull me in, though, was the shootout scene at the very end. Probably the most well-known scene in this entire film, because the very last shot of this is the poster, pretty much. Spoiler alert if you did not know, but that whole scene, the buildup of it, and the resolve between the two of them to fight their way out is inspiring. I guess that's the right way to phrase that. It's inspiring, but it's also just great storytelling. The way they build up the entirety of it is so great. Plus, again, the chemistry between Newman and Redford is just so palpable, and they play off each other so well. But again, coming to that in a second. And finally, some notes on just the storytelling of this film in general is it's a lot funnier than I thought it would be. I did not realize how funny it would be, but I really, really loved it. I genuinely laughed out loud at a couple scenes. One of them is the clip for this film. I will give that spoiler alert for the end of this video. It's a great scene. It's probably my favorite scene I've seen in a while. But there are also some moments that they build the tension up very well. The one I'm thinking of particularly is this scene. It's this woman, she comes into her house, it's kind of dark, she lights the lamp, and she's starting to get undressed, and then all of a sudden,
keep going, teacher lady. It's okay, don't mind me. Keep on going.
you turn around and you're like, oh, is he going to, rape her? It's Sundance, and it's kind of terrifying. I mean, as a female that lives alone, it's kind of terrifying, and being a female alone in the West would probably be even more terrifying. So he tells her to keep going, and he walks over to her like he's gonna do something to her, but then she gets a little mad at him, and she's like,
do you know what I wish?
What?
That once you'd get here on time.
and you realize they know each other. They're together. And you're kind of surprised by that. I was surprised, I was shocked, and I kind of giggled a little bit because I was like, you got me, movie, you got me really good. There is one other thing, though, that I just wasn't super fond of, is when Butch Cassidy and Etta are riding his new bicycle through the fields, and the song Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head is playing.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
And it just, And the song felt really, like, it didn't feel weird and out of place for this scene. It felt right for the scene. But for the movie as a whole, it felt very out of place because most of the other music fit the scene. It was more of a score, and it was more of a Western type music that you would see, or you don't see a score. It's more Western type score that you would hear, and it all fit very well. And it, like I talk about with most scores, it was tension building, it worked well, and this Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head, it was a very harsh moment within the film overall, even though it was a very genuine and heartfelt moment between Etta and Butch. But I don't know, maybe that's the comedy of it, is the fact that it's not necessarily something that fits into the film as a whole. But yeah, to me, it just stood out as a sore thumb of the film. Other than that, I enjoy it. Like, I know I say I wasn't super, like, enraptured by this film, but the parts that I enjoyed, I really, really enjoyed. Like the colorization. It started out black and white, and I really, really liked the fact that they used old silent film type footage to introduce the hole-in-the-wall gang and kind of detailing exactly what they do. And it also mentions that most of what follows is true, but I know zero to nothing about these characters, about Butch Cassidy and or the Sundance Kid, to know how much of it is true. Although what I read in the book said that the two, like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, were nowhere near as, what's the word that they used? Charismatic. They were nowhere near as charismatic as Redford and Newman, which I can see. Redford and Newman are just gems. So that leads me into talking about them, even though I was going somewhere with the colorization. Okay. Let's go back to the colorization. I'm going a little bit all over the place here. The colorization of the film, yes, I did like the fact that it started with sepia and it incorporated the old silent film style footage that would have been very popular at the time, but I also like that it used that sepia tone to introduce characters, and then later on, instead of using the silent film footage, it used more still photographs to introduce the new life that Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and Etta are now living, while then fading into the actual color film. So now with that out of the way, let's talk about the relationship between Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid / Paul Newman and Robert Redford. I loved their chemistry together, and I couldn't help but compare a lot of their relationship in this film to the relationship in The Sting, the previous one I watched. And they do have a similar relationship, but in The Sting, it was more like mentor-mentee kind of thing, where in this one, they are more partners in crime. They're very together. They're in both films, they're friends, but in The Sting, Newman's character is more of the older mentor to Robert Redford's character. They both watch out for each other, even though Sundance is a little bit more independent. He does have like kind of a darker, keeps to himself kind of mentality. He doesn't want to show his emotions, and Butch he has big grandiose ideas and only gets tripped up by those ideas and his exuberance to put those ideas into motion. And they riff and play on each other in such a fun way. Even though I didn't connect with the film as much as I would have liked to, or as much as most people do, their chemistry was the reason I really did end up enjoying myself. Especially in this one particular scene that I feel is a crowd favorite of fans of this film.
I want to fight them. They'll kill us. Maybe. You want to die? Do you? All right. I'll jump first. No. Then you jump first. No, I said. What's the matter with you? I can't swim! Why, are you crazy? The fall will probably kill you.
And for the clip for this film, I very easily could have chosen the final sequence in Bolivia, because it's the pinnacle of how great this film is, and it's a crowd favorite. It's just, everybody loves that scene.
No. Oh, good. For a moment, I thought we were in trouble.
But there was one scene that made me actually rewind the rewind what I was watching, and I laughed every single time I watched it. And this clip is a really great indicator of how funny the film is going to be, as well as being the foil to what the end is.
No, not yet. Not until me and Harvey get the rules straightened out.
Rules? In a knife fight? No rules. What?
Well, if there ain't gonna be any rules, let's get the fight started. Someone count 1, 2, 3, go.
1, 2, 3, go.
I was really rooting for you, Butch.
Well, thank you, Flatnose.
And that is all I have for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. As always, these are just my opinions, but I'd love to know yours in the comments down below. I'm going to be asking the same question I asked last week. What is your favorite Paul Newman, or I think I asked this last week, what's your favorite Paul Newman or Robert Redford film? Let me know in the comments down below. I really have been wanting to see The Old Man and the Gun, which is Robert Redford's newest film. Or what do you think of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid? I know a lot of people really love this film, and I can totally see why. I just didn't connect with it as much. If you want to know which films I have watched so far, or just follow along with my progress in general, there's a link to a Google Doc in the description down below with a list of every single film I have checked off so far. And you can also go to my Letterboxd and see every single film I watch in real time. I'm also an Amazon affiliate, so if you'd like to take the challenge on for yourself, watch the film I talked about today, or watch the film I'm going to be talking about next time, you can check any of the links in the description down below. And if you purchase anything from there, I'll get a little bit of a percentage, which will help make this channel even better. For the next film, it is March Madness, and I grew up in the land of basketball in Indiana, and I know little to nothing about basketball. I care little to nothing about basketball, so I thought, why not wrap up March Madness the day before it ends with the documentary Hoop Dreams. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really truly do appreciate every single one of you. Let me know who you are in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love talking things, movies, TV shows, filmmaking, mystery, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye!